So up next, we will be hosting Aduro Clean Technologies for the first time this year. Aduro Clean Technologies is a developer of patented water-based technologies to chemically recycle waste plastics, convert heavy crude and bitumen into lighter, more valuable oil, and transform renewable oils into higher value fuels or renewable chemicals. The company's technology relies on water as a critical agent in a chemistry platform that operates at relatively low temperatures and cost, a game-changing approach that converts low-value feedstocks into resources for the 21st century. The company is based in Ontario, Canada, and I'm happy to introduce Ofer Vicus, the company's co-founder and CEO. He's going to begin the session with a presentation on the company before we move into some Q&A. So I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for having me. As you said, my name is Ofer Vicus. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Aduro Clean Technologies. In a nutshell, Aduro process low-value hydrocarbons. We kind of found and came across a phenomenon about in 2011, which we developed into a full-scale technology approach. And we have very significant advanced solutions to chemical recycling, to heavy oil upgrading, to waste rubbers, to other hydrocarbons that required a lot of energy and resources to make them a little bit more profitable. The company is public since April 2021, CSE at the beginning and uplisting to the NASDAQ just recently. In 2023, Aduro was featured by two education programs on North America, one of them by Ted Danson, the advancement, the actor, and the other one by Dennis Quaid, the actor as well, by the name of Viewpoint Project. And I thought I'll start with the video for you guys to see, and later we'll have some slides, minimum slides. All of them are available, of course, on our website, and we'll take it from there.
Hello, I'm Dennis Quaid. Protecting the environment is an important issue facing the world today. Yet finding the best way to conserve our natural resources can be challenging. Many believe the key lies in new ideas, like the one you're about to see.
As a working mom, I use plastics every day. Plastics are an amazing material and an integral part of our lives, like beverage bottles and food packaging. My challenge is plastic waste. It's problematic and harming our environment. So I want to be conscious and try to do my part to minimize the purchase and the use of plastic products and packages. Yet I wonder if the plastic I do use can be somehow recovered and repurposed.
We can't imagine a world without plastic. They are found everywhere. In cars, containers, medical devices, the list just goes on. Plastics are actually very effective material. The problem, what comes after we use them. Currently, only 10% of the plastic in the world is recovered globally. 90% ends up contaminating our lands and our waters or simply incinerated.
Over the years, many companies have been developing technologies to extract the valuable petroleum-based resources lost in plastic waste.
Current approaches, being mechanical or advanced recycling, operate under either limited economical or chemical reality. We have developed another approach that helps bridge the gap for some of those limitations, allowing for increase of processing of waste plastic that is otherwise harder to recycle.
Ofer Vicus is CEO and co-founder of a technology company working on a better approach for transforming plastic waste into a valuable resource.
We call our novel approach hydrochemolytic plastics upcycling, where hydro refers to water, but chemolytic is a chemist term. It simply means taking larger molecules apart into smaller pieces. Water is an agent in this technology that offers significant advantages over other approaches.
The beauty of the HPU process is that it operates at low temperatures, which translates into lower emissions. It's a high-yield process that allows us to recycle the most difficult to recycle plastics, like you would find in food wrapping or in foam cups. The final advantage is that it's scalable. It allows us to address low-density population markets as well as high-density population markets.
At Brightlands, we support new companies and organizations that are developing innovative technologies for recycling of plastics. We invited this company to join us because the technology is very interesting. It has the ability to deal with very dirty and contaminated waste plastic streams that other technologies can't handle.
We actually offer a unique learning, work, and research environment where we try to connect business and industry to education in order to develop new products, but also new technologies. And we really believe that Aduro is developing this highly promising technology which may tackle the environmental challenges of today. Their commitment to chemical recycling and sustainable chemistry really align with our mission to foster innovation and growth.
The passion and purposes of our company is to enable the processing of more waste plastic that is hard to recycle, to convert it into resources that helps eliminate the issue of plastic pollution.
Together we are working towards a circular economy that will be better for all of us in this world.
Max,
We hope this program has served as an inspiration to you. Be sure to join us next time as we continue to profile the people and ideas changing the way we live. I'm Dennis Quaid.
Okay. I'm sure you know this thing. So as I've sit here in the early days in the morning and I heard a lot of the presentations and I felt, first of all, we are the new kids in the block. Second, I thought there is a lot of synergy between what we do and some of the pain points that others are presenting. And it was really nice to hear how the approach is, and I think our approach really, in many ways, help integrate a lot more of waste plastic and bring a lot of waste plastic into the system and actually do a little bit of recycle or circularity. What is it that we do? So we came across this phenomenon in 2011, which was very unique. Just to give you an idea, the next approach near us, the youngest approach, is about 75 years old. Over the last 10 years, we developed it into a full-scale commercial solutions. We basically called it hydrochemolytic, and it is basically a chemical platform technology. It's a code for us to process waste plastic, heavy oil, renewable fuels. It's a really significant approach that is different to current approaches. And for that reason, it allows us to, because of the others has some limitations, it allows us to open ourselves to very different business models. We're basically able to scale up rather than scale down. Our nearest and smallest numbers of operating, let's say the processing unit that we see right now is around 25,000 tons, where rest of the organization needs to work on 100,000 tons, 200,000 tons. And for us, if you want to do something with it, just buy 3 or 4 of those. And we are able to operate in an environment that is very hard to the others. And so by definition, there is a lot of significant environmental and economic benefit that we see that we can release. We have a huge addressable market. We are a very rich IP company. Since 2011 until now, we developed about 10 patents. 7 of them are granted, 3 of them are pending. We develop solutions to the chemical recycling part. We develop solutions to the partial upgrading. There's a lot of it in Canada, and the rest of the world is using heavy oil as well. And we have solutions in the making. 2025 is a significant year for us. It's the year where we are bringing basically a pilot to the air. And we've been working aggressively. And I noticed some of the, on the brochures, you guys are missing some numbers from us. And maybe next year I'll bring the CFO and he'll fill up some of those numbers and he'll have to protect them as well. But basically, the solution that we approach is really contributing to a really significant gross margin and accelerate the amount of processed plastic that could go into the circularity. This is in a nutshell how the ecosystem is working. So notice on the bar the pyrolysis or chemolysis. So over the last 70 years, pyrolysis was the first name to come across. Most of the technologies that you see here are operating with that. It's fine, they're very good. I can't say any words bad on those things, but they have chemical limitation that we are solving. And if anyone will ask later, I'll explain how we're very, very different. I'm sure you heard of Honeywell. Mura, represented by Dow Chemical. Plastic Energy is operating by SABIC. Quantifuel used to operate by BASF. So large organization, this is where we are working with. So recently, we came up with the chemolysis, and there's not a lot of approach to waste plastic recycling, just to give you an idea. And the technology that we are promoting has significant advantage to the others in the way that we are working in a much lower energy mode. We have this ability to work in a lower contamination mode. So basically, things that are coming from the waste stream that you just heard, we can create a line where they will come straight to our processing line at a very nice high gross margin. And we're talking about mainly plastic, yeah, not anything else. But there is a path there that is much stronger than whatever is available today. We have much more benefit. One of them is the modularity. So we can, rather than, you heard some investment, huge investment in processing. For us, it's very modular. You can work with a reactor train that are doing 20, 30,000 tons, and if you have maybe much more processing to work with, you just increase your reactor train. So there's a flexibility even for the organization to build different business models. And we see by ourselves different business models. We are a licensing, mainly licensing approach, but we see, for example, with organizations that were presented here, if they don't want to do chemical recycling, we can provide them the solution on a partner base or on a build-on-operate base. There is plenty of business models. As I mentioned, we are the young kids in the block, and there is a lot for us to do. Just a word about chemical recycling and mechanical recycling. Overall, in general, this is the landscape that operates around plastic recycling. Everything goes first and foremost to mechanical recycling. Whatever is rejected, move to the chemical recycling. This is where we live with the others. And whatever is rejected there is moved to the landfill or to the incineration. And so mechanical recycling, just to give you some numbers around that, in general, society is producing about 400 million tons of waste plastic every year. And you can see that mechanical recycling holds only 9% globally, just 9%. And all the companies that I showed you are doing just 1%. We actually don't consider them as competitors. The reason being is because they have those chemical limitations that we are breaking down. So we have this opportunity to work on whatever goes to the landfill and come to us for processing. And just to give you some numbers, we see material that's worth $0 to maybe $200, $300 a ton, and selling it for $1,200, $1,500 a ton. Very high gross margins that we see there. And so if you think of it as you build solutions to a place, and we see business-to-business solutions. So we don't have to work in particular site and do different scenarios. We can configure a solution to a site. Basically, because the technology has so much flexibility, we build ourselves to take advantage of those flexibilities. And so this is where we are. In 2025, we set up some goals that we wanted investors to look at us. And 2025 is a significant year for us. This is where we're going to build our pilot. It's going to be ready by September this year. Working very hard. The team is working very hard to this. But we're not stopping there. 2025 and 2026 is significant years for us. We are already working on preparation of the site and preparation of the demo unit. The demo unit is where we will have commercial sales. Although Aduro has already revenue today because we are doing some partnership with some large and significant petrochemical organization, Total being one of them, Shell being the other. There's others on our website that I can share with you. But basically, we opened the window for them to look at us at a very, very early stage. And again, if I go back to the genesis of all this, pyrolysis was the ultimate solution, and it is limited. And so us coming up with a very novel solution, they cannot just put $200 million in a process. They need to do the crawl, walk, run, basically. And so we offer them a very interesting customer program where the first case, we just did some technology evaluation. And Aduro is earning revenue. The stuff that you see right now on your brochure is just revenue from testing material. And so we have about 5 or 6 of those that are paying for us. And they're with us for the last 2 or 3 years. And every program with every hydrocarbon processing is very, very different. We actually give solutions to them, so whatever is important for them. But then on our goals is really to move them into collaborations. And a collaboration means that we basically moved a customer from the shelf to the work with us, and now they're starting giving us some advices. And some of the most significant, after 14 years in this, some of the most significant advices that we got were straight from customers. And it turns the company to a place where we see things ahead of the game because we are working hand to hand with customers. Basically, that's how we want to see that. And of course, for investors, you know that if we do those, there is a bigger chance for commercialization. This is part of the examples of the organizations that we're working with. And in this case, you can see organizations that have multiple interests. Shell and Total are interested more or less in the lowest value of feedstock. But organizations like Uponor, they're producing very significant and unique feedstock that otherwise has no destination. They're basically putting, it's called cross-linked polymers, they're putting pipelines. And if we will not come with a solution, right now there's no solution for that. For us, it's very easy to process, and it's a very niche market. And that speaks a little bit about our interest in terms of revenue generation, because although we know that there is deals to do with the Shell and the Total of the world, we are very sensitive to revenue. 2025 was the pilot, 2026 is where we want to see the revenue coming in. And so the solution that we're building, we call it from simple to complex. Basically, while we're working to upgrade it, our solution and to build customized solution for long and large investors, we're very much looking at a smaller scale niche markets that we could just hand on a system, put it out there, really define some business model, whether we build on, operate, or we partner, and generate revenue. Revenue is everything. You heard a lot of the conversation here about M&A 2025, 2026. You know, everyone a little bit worried. I think we're in a great place to move on. We're very aggressive on the way we're doing. We're making progress, headways. We become from literally unknown in 2021. No one, before 2021, there was no reason for you guys to even know us. There was no website, there was no social media, there was nothing. We did all of our research close to our heart. And between 2021 and today, we're basically becoming a household and a next generation, an alternative to a next generation to these technologies. So now as you consider Aduro, it's not just one solution. First of all, we have solutions to the heavy oil, we have solutions to renewable oil, we have solutions to plastic recycling. We see things a little bit ahead of the game because we're working very closely with those organizations, and we're very aggressive on our solution, but our solution starts from a very small scale, so not a lot of financial constraints there, and a lot of potential for nice gross margin in our operation. This is the collaboration that we had with Total. We're working very hard to bring another one or two to this year. That's part of our commitment for the investors today. And on November 7th, we uplist to the NASDAQ monumental day. What you see here, folks, is just a presentation of the employees. We brought all the employees, of course, big celebration day for us. This is the last slide. I thank you very much for listening to me. As you can see, it's a very clean chart. Everything, whatever you see here, it's whatever you get. I mean, we're cashed up. Every raise that we did was up in pricing. We think very clearly about investors. We don't like dilution, just like investors don't like dilutions. About 39% of insider ownership. Current market value is, you know, based on today's market, whatever the market says or whatever happens in the crazy markets of today. But we normally recover very well. We have a very strong shareholder base that take advantage of those days and increase position. In every raise that we did in the last 2 or 3 years, about 20-30% of our shareholders increase their position every time. And we have those, they're very, very loyal. And so we feel very strong on our future. We intend to materialize on our future. I thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take some.
Great. Yeah, I think if you want to take a seat, we can.
Oh, yeah.
I have a few questions myself before we can
okay.
reach out to the audience as well, since I think we still have a few minutes. Thank you for the background, though. That was really helpful, and I think in introducing the audience to the company. So, as you mentioned, I'm your CEO and the co-founder of the company that was founded in, I believe, 2011. Can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background and how you came to found the company? And I also, I believe we both share No, not that, but we both did our MBAs at Kellogg. Yep, yep, exactly. So have that connection as well.
Okay, so I do have also significant shareholders, if we said, about 30%. So I founded the company in 2011 with my partner. His name is Mark Trickstead. He's a chemist. He's a very, very smart guy. Mark and I are going along 20 years almost altogether. We met from different fronts. I was on the business development activity of analytical equipment. Mark was the chemist who'd been sent out to explain people like me why the stuff that we do is wrong and why the analytical equipment that we buy is right and working well, basically. In 2011, I came across this phenomenon where under conditions of very specific conditions with water, you can see that low-value hydrocarbons, specifically at the time was heavy oil, is breaking down, and it doesn't need any hydrogenation. So most of the technologies that you see here in the air need hydrogen, molecular hydrogen. And we were puzzled about what's going on and why is it happening. And so I'll answer about that, but over the years, for the rest of 10 years, Mark and I worked together. Basically, he was the CTO. Today he's just doing the patents, and there are other people that are working in the company. I moved just to build up the company, I'll say everything around that technology. And we moved along in stages for 10 years. Basically, it was a lot of googly eyes, people in the lab doing all kind of things. In 2021, we took a reverse takeover, and we took a shell company, and we raised $500,000 for our first time. 2 weeks later, we raised $1.5 million. A month later, we raised another $1.5 million, and this stuff is start growing. Today, the company is about 30 employees. We are basically scattered around the globe. We have representation in Mexico, in Germany, in the Netherlands. Most of our guys are in London, Ontario, in Canada, and we have a site, technology demonstration site in Sarnia. So we're operating it is a Canadian company.
Mm-hmm. That's helpful. And then you touched on the total addressable market, and I'm hoping you can expand a bit more on the competitive landscape and I guess who you kind of see as your main competitors in the marketplace.
Yes.
And those dynamics as well, since it is.
Yeah, so I mean, we don't flash anymore with the market addressable. It's just too big.
Yeah.
There's no need to do that. We need to focus ourselves on execution, making sure that the unit that we're processing is doing its job, and then we can replicate it again and again and again. With respect to our competitors, which we have highest respect, because people put their life into those things. This is hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. We consider them more of a collaborator rather than, first of all, they only own about 1% of the market. There's nothing, to compete with them around that. We don't need to compete with them because we can build smaller scale. Just to give you an idea, if Shell wants to do 1 million tons, and they publish that by 2030 they're going to do 1 million tons of waste plastic in order to bring it to circularity, they need 100, 200,000 tons to start with. And that is hundreds of millions of dollars of investment just to start with. We can do it at much cheaper price, basically. On the other hand, our competitors, they don't have easy life because basically they are operating, when it comes to chemical recycling, they're operating on taking what we call the best of the best. There is a lot of sorting, there's a lot of cleaning, there's a lot of work that needs to be in the background for them to use that material. And so that material eventually ends up in some kind of a price inflation. You don't hear that a lot, but there is war about the best of the best. The rest nobody wants. And so we offer them access to a lower value feedstock, basically. So we don't consider them as competitors. They could be, but if they are, we just, we have so much operation. We could do business-to-business models, for example. So you can do smaller scale business-to-business activity rather than centralized location in areas where we feel it's right. Mm-hmm. So we have much more flexibility to work around competitors or with competitors. And we are open for business, by the way. So.
And then you touched on a few different markets that you're targeting. Can you just talk a little bit about how you're prioritizing some of the market opportunities that you see and specific industrial applications?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, there's a lot there. So we are focusing, our genesis was heavy oil upgrading. Basically, in heavy oil, you need a lot of resources to bring it up to the well, from the well. And then you need a lot of resources just to transport it. And so our section is just transportation. We save about 20% of the cost because we're saving the blending material that is associated with that. And I have to say, we don't have solution for Alberta. We have solutions that we can make money for our investors, but for all of Alberta, it will not happen. So we started with that, and this is a place where we have engagement for the last 5 years with one of the largest heavy oil operators in Canada. It is confidential, and I cannot say a thing, and we went through the years of COVID to build the appropriate piloting, to show the appropriate data. And we're just now recently collecting whatever we're doing and reorganizing towards the next phase. And in 2021, we really got by surprise by the circularity approach. So chemical recycling came into the air, and we thought we're going to do just smaller scale unit. We're going to just make some money and move on. And within a year, with very little marketing, basically marketing for us was go to a conference, send the scientists, wait until anyone else will come and present and tell them what you can do, and that was that. And we received tremendous amount of interest from some of those organizations to test what we've been doing. And so there was a need for us to address that. And those organizations are limited. They have a lot of pressure to decide on which technology they want to engage with, and there's a lot of money involved. And so this is where we created this crawl, walk, run, where we're now in between. And so first and foremost right now is the plastic recycling. Secondary is the bitumen. It just took a life of its own. Everything else is in the back burner. We're basically doing it on a much, much quieter environment because, again, for us, revenue is everything. We want to be with revenue as close as we can. We don't want to spread our resources too thin.
That makes sense. I want to see if there's any audience questions. Okay, it seems like we have a few here.
Hi, really exciting work, and you were doing R&D since 2011?
Yes.
Okay, and so you're not. I love that you feel like an overnight success, but it's hard work, right?
Yes.
So in your process, do you have? So you can take any type of dirty, any type of plastic, any type, or is there limits?
Yeah. So we're dealing with the hardest of the hardest. Mainly, this is polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, a little bit of PVC. Nobody likes PVC. We don't like PVC. Just to give you an idea, we like to get rid of it as well. PET is basically the most simple material and form of material that is easiest to recycle. When we meet PET, it's already in a contaminated mode. In other words, it's 5%, 10% in our stream. The issues with those streams is that you have to invest so much resources to get contamination away. You just heard that from the previous person. And things that are sometimes at the range of 10%, like PET, doesn't do anything to us. We just process it, which effectively means that the price of the feedstock that you're processing goes down from $200, $300, $400 to zero, because nobody wants it. That is what's going on today in the market. They rejected a lot of material. Now, mechanical recycling, that's supposed to be the first in the mind. The mechanical recycling is a fantastic solution. You basically take material of the same and you turn it to something new. And the problem is, as you heard previously, that many of the customers that are integrating some recycled material get to be very picky. They want the accurate red or the accurate yellow or the accurate what have you, and it's never enough. And for those reasons, it's very limited. So take all of that, turn it into an oil, send it to a naphtha cracker, most of it, turn it into a new plastic, virgin plastic, sell it back, and anyone who's doing that could claim that he's doing circularity around that. That is where we are coming in.
Okay, and the other question I have for your process is so you have inputs, and then what residuals are there to your process, and what happens?
Very little. So we are actually quite transparent on those, and we see sometimes anywhere between 90 to 95% what we call fungible material. So it could be anywhere from liquid oil that goes into a naphtha cracker, so to create some circularity, wax, and we see some gases, and the gases could return as energy source, so fungible material, but very, very high yield, very little of any side product. Basically, the efficiency of the system is in a standard of its own, but we don't brag about it until the pilot will be out. And so you will not find any information about it before we'll have the pilot. And the meaningful of the pilot is this: it is an industrial. It's built from industrial component. It's a small scale, but if you inflate it, it will become a commercial site. And for that reason, once we'll have it up and running, you could see the whole life cycle capabilities of it, the CO2 footprint. And we know that we are in a standard of our own because we are operating, for example, at 400 degrees C. Most of our peers are working at 420 and above. We know that we have high tolerance to contamination. Most of our organization, the peers, needs to invest a lot in those bionic infrared eyes to deal with those separation, lots of capital costs. That also lead to centralized location. That also leads to higher transportation. This one thing led to the other. You build on negative. This is plastic. Remember, it's just negative cost. You just start with the negative cost. So we offer a way to just control it a little bit better, basically.
Thank you so much. I think that we're about at time, but Ofer will be here afterwards
Absolutely.
to answer
Thank
additional questions if there are any. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate you coming this year to the conference.